Recently, I've been doing a lot of research into the modern Five Nights at Freddy's games. As a result of this, my last video was dedicated to discussing the character of Gregory. Likewise, this video will be focused on tackling the character of Vanessa, as well as Vanny, everyone's favorite Jekyll and Hare. Hey, hi there. Real quickly, I wanted to let you know that this video is sponsored by my good friend Walker. Nah, not really. The only form of payment I'm getting is this background footage, which actually comes from his video, where he played Help Wanted 2, the best FNAF game ever made, for the first time. Links to that video will be in the description and on screen right now. Alright, I know you're not here to listen to me hype my friends up, so let's get into it. Up until Security Breach, Vanessa as a character was fairly cut and dry. She was a normal person until her mind was taken over by Glitch Trap, causing her to gain a new, separate personality known as Vanny. While living this double life, she was brought on as the one and only security guard for the Mega Pizzaplex, in no small part thanks to Glitch Trap itself. This is when she began kidnapping and potentially offing random Pizzaplex customers, which leads us into the events of Security Breach. But this is where things get dicey. Myself and many others understand the Princess Quest ending of Security Breach to be canon. In this ending, Gregory beats all 3 Princess Quest games, which in turn frees Vanessa from Glitch Trap and from Vanny. Ruin, the direct DLC sequel to Security Breach, does a pretty good job of beating this idea into our skulls. There doesn't seem to be any direct evidence against it, apart from one detail. The developers make it nearly impossible to miss this one purple Vanny graffiti on the wall 5 minutes into Ruin. Because of this, the game seemingly contradicts itself. So, what's going on here? In order to understand Vanny, we have to look at all of her appearances. She's only been physically present in 2 of the games, those being Security Breach and Help Wanted 2. Obviously, Vanny is active in Security Breach, since the Princess Quest arcade machines have yet to be beaten. But when does Help Wanted 2 take place? Before or after Security Breach? The minigames themselves are disjointed. We see events from around the time of Sister Location as well as before and after Security Breach. However, both endings imply our player character to be stuck within the virtual network. Because of this, we can infer that the game, along with its endings, takes place after Security Breach. Along with the purple graffiti in Ruin, this seems to confirm that Vanny is around long after the events of Security Breach. Even as a Princess Quest ending loyalist, I cannot deny this evidence. It seems that maybe the Princess Quest ending isn't the true ending, and Princess Quest 3 really never was conquered. But there is one issue with that line of logic. The developers of Help Wanted 2 knew this would happen, that this game would appear to be confirmation of an alternative conclusion. That's why they left us undeniable proof of the Princess Quest ending in-game. If all of the hints within Ruin could be chalked up to coincidence, then they had to drop a bombshell, and that they did. In Security Breach, the Princess Quest arcade cabinets, PQ for short, can only be played sequentially, meaning PQ2 only unlocks after beating PQ1. This rule applies to PQ3 as well, which grants the PQ ending. If we assume this rule carries between games as it should, then the only reason PQ4 is here and playable is because PQ3 has already been beaten. Thus, the PQ ending is undeniably the canon ending of Security Breach. And to the stubborn audience members in the back, I didn't forget about you. Even if I were to play devil's advocate and say PQ3 wasn't beaten by Gregory, but by another party after Security Breach, it doesn't matter. Either way, Vanny is still present and active while PQ4 is active, which means PQ3 is inactive and Vanny is still alive. The two can exist at the same time, derailing the only substantial rebuttal to the Princess Quest ending being canon. I get this is a hard pill to swallow, as it sounds like an outright retcon. It's like Steelwool wanted to have their cake and eat it too. It's like they wanted the PQ ending to stay canon, while also keeping Vanny around in case they wanted to reuse her later. Notice how I said it's like that's what they wanted? That, my friends, is a simile, which means that isn't quite what's going on here. Let's continue to examine her actions throughout Help Wanted 2 and compare them to her MO from previous entries. As I said before, she only shows up at the end, but she is most certainly present during the whole game, working behind the scenes. The PQ4 arcade machine is the biggest giveaway, but even before then, we can see signs of her presence. In order to activate PQ4, you have to go to several different minigames and do specific tasks to collect 6 unique memory poppets. If there is no direction on where to go or what to do, then I would hold this game in much lower regard. Luckily, that's not the case. Upon completing certain levels, the main lobby will change, revealing a clue for retrieving a poppet. And what kind of clues are they? They're drawings, surrounded by purple spray paint. The same paint we see Vanny using on several occasions in Security Breach and Ruin, meaning it is directly tied to her character. She's leading the player to her. Alongside the paint hints, Mystic Hippo plays a vital role in guiding the player toward the secret ending. But in earlier versions of the game, the character guiding us along was Vanny herself. I'm pretty hesitant to use any information that comes from old or scrapped renditions of the games, but I wanted to mention this anyway, as it might just mean Vanny was originally supposed to play an even bigger role in Help Wanted 2. We've established Vanny as the force guiding the player, but what if I told you she isn't working alone? She leaves hints about where to find the memory poppets, but someone else hands them to us. That person is none other than Vanny has always been subservient to Glitchtrap, so why would their relationship be any different now? I'm not entirely sure what Glitchtrap wants with the poppets. They're referred to as memories, so they seem to hold some kind of relevance to the player. My best guess is Glitchtrap, being the Mimic program, wants to learn more about William Afton. The predominant idea is that our player character is someone who has been around in the series for quite some time now. That's what makes them so special, and that's why Glitchtrap and Vanny target them specifically. Their history with Afton provides the insight it desires. You could even say that's why their help is wanted, too. Upon collecting all 6 poppets, we can finally enter Princess Quest 4. I still think this might be the coolest moment in all of FNAF. The journey isn't important for today's theory though. What matters is what we find once we've reached the very end. We are standing inside a giant claw machine, surrounded by various merchandise. Looming over us, we see Vanny herself. She's been leading us to this moment, and now she will finally get what she wants. We deliver Glitchtrap to her, and the player is left behind to remain within the virtual network forever. As the old man outside tells us, it is a fair trade. Glitchtrap's plan in all of this was to take over the mind of yet another victim, absorbing their memories to further build its impersonation of Afton. And by following Vanny's instructions, we've given it exactly what it wants. But anyone who's played Help Wanted 2 knows this isn't how the story ends. Vanny has undeniably led us into the hands of Glitchtrap, and allowed us to be assimilated into the virtual network. But in doing so, she gained leverage. And once she has that power, she uses it to destroy Glitchtrap, once and for all. Maybe Vanny is more complex than I've been letting on. If you've seen my last theory, you're probably wondering how this all fits in with it. Last time I explained how I believe Gregory and Vanessa returned to the Pizzaplex after Security Breach in order to defeat Burntrap and Glitchtrap. All of the evidence for this can be found in the final moments of Ruin. I highly recommend watching that video for yourself if you haven't. I've spent the last however long, explaining why I believe Vanny is still around and how she led an innocent person to a fate worse than death, all to free Glitchtrap. So why then does she betray it? Well, luckily for me, I already told you, and it has to do with Princess Quest. As we see in Ruin, Princess Quest 3 is conquered. Glitchtrap has lost its hold over Vanny. She may still be around, but she is no longer under the influence of an outside force. She is now being controlled by Vanessa herself. She uses this newfound freedom and power to return and stop the evil that has caused her suffering and the suffering of so many others. As far as my last theory is concerned, I wrote it with the knowledge that I would be making this video immediately afterwards. Because of this, these two theories fit hand in hand. Some of you who watched my last video picked up that I glossed over both Vanessa and Glitchtrap. Obviously, that was done with intent, to leave room to talk about them now. So how does this theory work within the confines of the last? If you recall, after sealing the Mimic and Gregory behind the concrete wall, Vanessa was left on her own in the room with Mixes. I covered nearly every detail in this room last time, apart from one very intentional design choice. While in this room, if you put on the Vanny mask, you'll see a plethora of deactivated security nodes on the floor. This might seem strange since Gregory and Vanessa were attempting to increase the security around the Mimic, but in order to work with and fool Glitchtrap, Vanessa first had to break her way into the virtual network, bypassing the security. After all, if you want to kill a prisoner, you have to break into the prison.
I've always really liked Vanny as a character. I don't think that Vanny was utilized to her fullest potential, and so hopefully we'll see another opportunity for Vanny to return as well. We'll see.
All roads point to Vanessa redonning the Vanny persona after Security Breach to take Glitchtrap out of the equation. This explains the canon ending of Security Breach. It explains the deactivated security nodes and the Vanny graffiti in Ruin. It even explains why Princess Quest 4 and Vanny make an appearance in Help Wanted 2. It explains why she turns on Glitchtrap in the end, and ultimately why Glitchtrap doesn't make an appearance in Ruin, alongside Burntrap. Of course, this does come at a cost, that being the life of the Help Wanted 2 protagonist, but I believe they knew the cost. It was a fair trade after all. There's much more to their story, but I believe it should be saved for another time. For now, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts or ideas in the comments. I genuinely love seeing how my silly little theories actually resonate with so many of you. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future.